used a needle before that was cleaned out with bleach, and that was one of the first times that I got that fear of, well, I could have HIV now. And who the hell wants to find that out, you know? What if somebody used one of my needles, you know, because I didn't have a safe place to put it, or, you know, somebody paid me to use it or asked for it and they needed it, and you're like, well, I don't think I have HIV, but I don't know, but great, now I could be a murderer.
The folks that use substances are incredibly marginalized, and when they want to go about using in a way that's going to be least harmful to them and least harmful to others, okay, it can be hard to do that.
Hep C is primarily transmitted through blood-to-blood contact, and that's why we're seeing such an increase in Hep C rates among early 20-something to 30-year-olds, because folks, and this is directly associated to what's going on with the opioid epidemic, but people don't have access to sterile needles, so they're sharing injection drug equipment.
Iowa basically stands at the precipice of a major outbreak. We have all of the ingredients to have a similar outbreak to one that occurred in Indiana several years ago. We're in a small community where there was usually 1 or maybe 2 cases of HIV a year. In a very, very short time, they had several hundred cases. The public health impact, the human impact there was tremendous, and Iowa is primed to have something like that happen. Implementing a syringe service program now could help us save lives, protect our law enforcement, and protect our state from the tremendous cost of responding to an outbreak like that.
The opioid crisis is obviously a national emergency, okay? And there's a number of ways that people want to combat that, all right? By providing these folks with syringe exchange services, we can help reduce the spread of HIV, help reduce the spread of hepatitis C.
Syringe service programs are one of several different approaches to substance use that fall under the label of harm reduction. And so the idea being that people who use injection drugs are at the highest risk for problems such as overdose or transmission of communicable diseases. And in the past, the way we addressed injection drug use was an abstinence-only based model. And obviously in the 80s with the HIV and AIDS crisis that came about, it became pretty clear that abstinence only was not going to protect people. And so the idea of a syringe service program is to meet with people who inject drugs where they're at in their life, talk to them about safer ways to use drugs, and provide them with the tools they need to protect their health.
I'm personally a big believer in evidence-based practice, and this is probably the single most effective intervention for trying to stem the opioid crisis, both because one of the major risks is the spread of infectious disease. Those come at great cost to individuals who are affected, and then to our community and from a public health perspective. And syringe service programs are the single most effective way to stop that.
People also worry about the money, right? They say, okay, well, if we're going to provide syringes to people who use, isn't that going to cost money? Well, of course it's going to cost money, but it's not particularly expensive, okay? And it is way less expensive than society's economic burden in treating so many people with HIV and hepatitis C.
An unused needle costs somewhere around 50 cents or less, depending on where you're getting them. One course of treating hepatitis C costs about $120,000. In terms of law enforcement, so we know that 1 in 3 law enforcement officers in this course of their career is going to be exposed to a used needle at some point, and syringe service programs can decrease that incidence by about 2/3.
Right, people worry all the time that if they support syringe exchange services, that's going to be condoning drug use, and there's just nothing could be further from the truth. Syringe exchange services are operating in many places in the country, and there are just no data to suggest that. In fact, if anything, the opposite is true. People that are able to come out of the shadows and not be so marginalized and participate in syringe exchange services are 5 to 6 times more likely to enter treatment programs.
Once you get high off that dirty needle, or that one you found on the ground, or that one from a questionable person that you don't know, that's just another damn thing to feel bad about. And it's really hard to be on the bottom of the barrel trying to get your life together.
If we wait until it's happened, it's too late. The damage to people is done, and the damage to the state in terms of resource utilization is done. So the time to act is right now. And if we wait, we're going to be looking back in a few years, and we're not going to be able to say we didn't know or we didn't understand. It's going to be a failure of action, not a failure of vision.
It is also, I think, the basic value of human life, the moral argument. Do we really want to be a society that believes that people who, for whatever reason, end up being an injection drug user, that somehow their life is not as valuable? That, hey, they were dumb, whatever happens to them is their problem. Do we really want to be that type of society? I don't think we do.